Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be discussing 3 different instructional design principles. The first instructional design principle I will be talking about is signaling. Signaling is where you're going to have a picture or a word, and then you're going to add some sort of cueing effect. Notice your attention goes to that cueing effect. That is signaling. Without it, you may have a problem of your students looking one way while you're trying to describe something else, and their signals are not matching, and therefore they're not really understanding what they're supposed to be understanding. For example, take a look at this without the signaling. Can you even tell what is important and what I want you to focus on? It's kind of difficult. Now, go ahead and look at this with the signaling. The signaling is what diverts your attention to the main point that I am trying to make as the instructor. This is important and connects to the theory of cognitive learning and multimedia design. So this is going to connect because you want to make sure that you are getting rid of any extraneous load, which is any outside information that is not important to the learning. So you are, by directing that learner's attention directly to the target, you're getting rid of all that information that they don't need to know. And because then your eyes are directly diverted there, and it kind of helps your working memory put things in order. So if you say, I want this area first, and then this area, and then this area last, my brain knows to automatically process it that way. Without having that signaling, my brain doesn't know, well, do I look here first? That was where my attention was, versus here, versus here. So it helps by putting it in order. And that is what is the signaling principle. The second design principle that I will be discussing is the spatial contiguity principle. This is where you're going to have some sort of picture or diagram, and all of the labels are going to be directly next to the picture or diagram. Here's an example. Without this, it might look something like this. This spatial continuity principle helps really tie in what you're supposed to be learning and where you're supposed to be looking. So without it, your eyes are then reading part of the paragraph, looking at the diagram, reading part of the text, looking back at the picture, and you're missing out on that information. Therefore, your processing is slower. According to the theory of multimedia learning, your brain has to not only look at the information, but then it also has to process it, all within the working memory. By having the spatial continuity principle there present, you have less processing time, and therefore you're getting rid of that outside information, you're losing less information, and it's taking you less time to learn information, which is why having it set up like this is a lot better for learning and therefore better for everybody. That is what the spatial continuity principle is. The next principle that I will be talking about today is the temporal contiguity principle. This is where you're going to have a picture or an animation and then the verbal words at the same time. So this is based on the theory of multimedia learning, where you will have dual channel processing so that your eyes are visually processing something the same time that your ears are auditory processing. So if you have that information at the same time versus one succeeding the other, you're going to be processing the same information at the same time using both of those channels. Without that, you're going to struggle processing either written word, looking at it at the same time with both your eyes and trying to hear and understand, as well as look at the animation or picture. And it's going to kind of get messed up in your memory, and you're going to lose important bits of information. This is going to tie directly in with how your brain works and how we learn, and the better it is for your working memory to be able to process those things at the same time, because then you're able to transfer that, hopefully, into your longer term memory to remember it for transfer. The reason being is that your eyes wouldn't have to hold it, because your ears are also going to be understanding the information, and therefore you don't have to hold both sets of information until it can transfer and make sense with one another. It's making sense with one another as you're watching the presentation. And that is my presentation. I hope you learned something today on these 3 different instructional principles. Thank you and have a great day.